Andres from AA Sports back with another video on La Selección de México. The final Gold Cup roster was announced last night and it includes some players that I am very excited to see. I did make a video regarding the Gold Cup roster a week ago when the 35-player preliminary roster was revealed. And in that video, I went in depth on my take on just about all of the players. With that, this video won't be as long. I probably will still give a brief take on some notable players in this final roster. But if you want a more in-depth opinion on the players who were in that preliminary roster, you can watch my preliminary roster video. With that, here we go. Mexico's summer roster for both their games against Turkey and Switzerland, as well as the Copa Oro. Starting with the goalkeepers, the three goalkeepers who will be at the Gold Cup are Luis Angel Malagon, Guillermo Ochoa, and Raul Rangel. With America failing to qualify for the Club World Cup, this means that Malagon will be able to play the Gold Cup for Mexico, and sure enough, he is on the roster. This meant that at least one of the other three goalkeepers would not make the final roster, and in this case, it was Alex Padilla. And this was anticipated in my last video. I did say that should Malagon be able to play for Mexico, it will likely be either Tala or Padilla cut from the final roster. And cutting Padilla, I think, was the correct decision. Of the four goalkeepers, he has been the one that has really struggled to impress at the club level, and he didn't have a good season with Pumas on that one-year loan deal. With the final three goalkeepers being confirmed, look for Malagon to be a starter with Ochoa as the backup and Tala as the third goalkeeper. I know some people will hate the idea of Ochoa being back on the roster because of his age, dumb personal reasons like being blocked on Twitter, Alvaro Morales in that case, from ESPN Deportes, or simply because he was, an America player, which again is another dumb personal reason. People can say what they want about Ochoa, but it won't change the fact that he is still the next best goalkeeper after Malagon, still good enough and is still playing in Europe, again playing a part in this year in saving his club in Portugal from relegation. So Malagon, Ochoa, Rangel, I think Aguirre made the correct decision in this part of the roster. Ochoa might get to play a group stage game, but more than anything, look for Malagon to be the go-to for this tournament and the games against Switzerland and Turkey. And for Tala to continue training and developing with the team. Moving on to the defense. The defenders included in the final roster are Julian Araujo, Jorge Sanchez, Cesar Montes, Johan Vázquez, Israel Reyes, Chiquete Orozco, Jesus Gallardo, and Mateo Chavez. 2 right backs, 4 center backs, and 2 left backs in the final roster. One notable name not on this list is Rodrigo Huescas, who just won the Danish Superliga with Copenhagen. He was left off the team this summer due to a pending suspension, as well as the uncertainty of whether he will stay at Copenhagen or move to a bigger club. Even if he stays in Denmark, Copenhagen will also want him healthy and available for their Champions League qualifiers, so Aguirre leaving Huescas out is fair. With that, Araujo and Sanchez are the 2 right backs. Araujo had a good end of the year in the Premier League with Bournemouth. While Sanchez has struggled at the international level, he has played well in Cruz Azul's system, winning the CONCACAF Champions with them, which is why he is getting another opportunity here. Look for both to get playing time and for Araujo to try and show why he should be one of the 2 main right backs going forward. As for the center backs, Johan and Cesar Montes, not a surprise to see them on the roster. They are the best center backs Mexico has right now. And I think the other 2, Reyes and Chiquete, are good call-ups by Aguirre. Reyes has had a great couple of years with America, and Chiquete has been great for Cruz Azul, winning CONCACAF Champions with them as well. The notable name left off the roster here is probably Ramon Juarez, but I don't think it's a genuine snub. Reyes, Chiquete, and Juarez have all had great years in Liga MX. This was just a moment where Aguirre had to make a tough decision. And I think Chiquete winning CONCACAF Champions and Israel Reyes catching the eyes of European clubs were the difference makers. As for the other 3 who were also cut, Gilberto Sepulveda, Purata, Lara, these 3 cuts were the correct decision as well, as the 4 who made the final roster are all in much better form than them. As for the left backs, Jesus Gallardo and Mateo Chavez, this part of the final roster was confirmed very early on, with only 3 left backs being called up in the preliminary roster. However, Jesus Angulo withdrew due to injury. Gallardo is, so that basically confirmed Gallardo and Mateo Chavez. Gallardo is one of the best left backs we have right now, and is coming off a great season with Toluca. Mateo Chavez, well-deserved call-up after essentially playing his way off an awful Chivas team and going to the Eredivisie. Look for Gallardo to be the starter and for Chavez to get playing time as a substitute, where he will hope to prove that he is the long-term future player now that he is playing in Europe with AZ Alkmaar. Overall, I am very happy with the defensive side of the roster, and I like the players called up. The defense looks very, very competitive. Now the midfield, the part that fans will say is the weakest part of the team and are hoping to see changes and new players. Unfortunately, one of those changes that has still not been made is Charlie Rodriguez. For those who have seen my Mexico content before, you know how much I hate this player. It is disgusting that this guy is 3 games away from having more appearances for Mexico than Hugo Sanchez, one of Mexico's most talented players ever. He is easily the biggest tronco on the team. I hope to God Charlie doesn't start or play significant minutes against Switzerland and Turkey, because every time he plays, it might as well be 11 versus 10. With that out of the way, outside of him, I'll tell you what, for the first time in a very long time, I am actually feeling very optimistic and excited about the midfield, and I think the roster here is overall a net positive. Because along with Charlie, the midfielders called up are Edson Alvarez, Eric Lira, Luis Chavez, Orbelin Pineda, Efrain Alvarez. Finally, Marcel Ruiz gets called up, and Gilberto Mora, the 16-year-old playing for Xolos, also made the final roster. How about that? Edson Alvarez, he is the best midfielder Mexico has playing in Europe right now. For sure, the starting center defensive midfielder. Eric Lira, who has also had a great year with La Máquina, is a perfect player to add depth to that position. Orbelin and Chavez are in Europe consistently getting playing time with their respective clubs. They should absolutely be on the roster in some way. Marcel Ruiz, this has been a player that many fans have been wanting to see called up for a while. It was crazy to see him getting snubbed from the roster, but now after having an incredible year with Toluca that saw him playing as one of the best midfielders in the Liga MX, he finally gets called up. And with how good his form has been, don't be surprised if he starts in some of the games, even in the 2 games against Switzerland and Turkey. Looking forward to seeing him finally play for Mexico. And Gilberto Mora, the wonder kid of Liga MX, who became the youngest player ever to score a goal in the Liga MX this year and is already starting in games for Xolos. He played his first games for Mexico in the hybrid friendlies in January against Internacional and River Plate. And it looks like he will now make his official debut for Mexico. Well-deserved for the young prospect. I can't wait to see him play. He might be Mexico's next big star. Mora is not the only Xolos midfielder who is included in the final roster, as attacking midfielder Efrain Alvarez will also be with Mexico for the Gold Cup. He is also coming off a good year with Xolos that saw him score 5 goals along with 6 assists, another good call-up. And now the final part of the roster, the offensive front. Chino Huerta, Alexis Vega, Piojo Alvarado, Raúl, Santi Jimenez, Julián Quiñones, and Ángel Sepúlveda. Not much of a debate here. Well-deserved call-up for just about all of these players. Huerta, Piojo, Raúl, Santi, Julián. That is the best attack. Those are the best offensive players Mexico has right now. And they could all be starters. Like, that you could make a case for all of them to be in the starting 11. The 2 notable names who were on the preliminary roster but were cut were Chucky Lozano and Henry Martin. Just a day prior to the final roster being announced, the national team informed the press that both players were ruled out of Mexico's summer games due to injury. It was reported that Hervin Lozano is suffering from a muscle injury in his left hamstring that will prevent him from joining the team. And Henry Martin, not much of a surprise here. He has been battling injuries throughout most of the Clausura with America and was unable to play in their Club World Cup play-in match due to injury, and it was confirmed that it is a muscle tear in his left hamstring. Ouch. Hate to see it for these players. Hopefully they get healthy quickly and we see them back on the field in the fall for the Leagues Cup with their respective clubs. With their injuries, it opened the door for what you could describe as the one surprise in Angel Sepulveda. The 34-year-old striker for Cruz Azul was last called up for the Nations League quarterfinals, where he did struggle to keep up with the pace of play in those games. However, with 2 injuries on this end of the roster, and Sepulveda coming off a 2-goal performance in Cruz Azul's beatdown on the Vancouver Whitecaps in the CONCACAF Champions Final, he gets another chance. We'll see if he can impress like he has with Cruz Azul. There you have it, folks. The final roster for the Mexico national team. Let me know in the comments which player on the roster you are most excited to see on the team. Very excited to see how they perform this summer as they build up for the World Cup. This roster's first test will be in just a couple of days on Saturday, June 7th, where they will play against Switzerland, their first of 2 preparation games against UEFA opponents. Kickoff will be at 1 p.m. Pacific time in Salt Lake City, where they will hopefully get a good result. Andres from AA Sports, leave a like if you enjoyed the video and stay tuned in for more Mexico national team content during the Gold Cup this summer. With that, to make it easier to stay informed on my Mexico national team content and news, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for my channel as well. With that, thanks for watching this video. Vamos Mexico.